Here we're going to cover the present tense in the middle passive. This middle passive refers to the middle and the passive voices, but since they look the same, a lot of times it's called the medio-passive voice or just the middle passive like this. So this is what we're covering. So I encourage you to look at the formula for the present tense in the active voice, because what we're going to do is the same thing as that, except we have to change our endings. So in the active voice, our different kinds of endings are the primary endings, and the secondary endings. The primary endings are o, is, I, ume, ete, un. Our secondary endings are a, es, e, ame, ate, an. So these are the active voice primary and secondary endings. Now, in the middle passive of the present tense, we have to look at the passive primary endings. In the middle passive, hope I have enough room here, the active, I will only cover the active in this video, so I'll just write it here, active. The active endings are ome, esse, ete, move this up, omaste, osaste, or este, and onde. So these are the endings that are going to help us to say I hide myself. We say I hide something using the active endings with the kriv stem of the verb krivo. So krivo, krivi, skrivi, krivme, krivete, krivun. I, you, whoever hides something. But here, now we're finally going to be able to say I hide myself, or he's hiding, she's hiding, like stowed away in hiding. So just as an aside, this iota in the primary, better write that here, primary endings. In the primary endings, the iota as the last as the last vowel in your ending, not necessarily the last character in your ending, but the last vowel in your ending, is a marker of the primary sequence of tenses. You won't see a iota as the last vowel in the secondary sequence of tenses, because the iota, even in ancient Greek, in the ending is a marker of the primary sequence of tenses. You don't need to know this is just an aside. And in the secondary sequence of tenses, the marker of the secondary sequence of tenses is not anything in the ending, but it's the temporal augment at the beginning of this stem. So the temporal augment in ancient Greek was a marker of the secondary sequence of tenses. It is still a marker of the secondary sequence of tenses. But you can tell from the endings what they are. But I'm just giving you an aside. So the way that we say before, the way that we conjugate the verb in the active is your stem plus your primary endings, krivo, and then, krivo. The way we do it now is exactly the same thing, except we use these endings, which are the passive endings. So this is your active primary ending. Now we're going to tack on our passive primary ending. And as we said in the video where we covered accentuation, for the purposes of recessive accentuation, alpha iota is short So if alpha iota is short, then the accent goes on the antepenult. Krivome. So finally, I'm hiding. I'm hiding myself. I'm in hiding. Krivome. So let's just conjugate all of these. I'm just going to move this up just a bit so we can see our endings. So we have, whoops, krivome, krivese, krivete, krivomaste, epsilon is short, accent goes on the antepenult, krivomaste, epsilon short, accent goes on the antepenult, krivosaste, but there's also another form, which is more true to the ancient form. Oops, kriveste. Epsilon short, accent goes on the antepenult. Kriveste, that's a sigma. Kriveste. This is more akin to the ancient verb form. This is more of a modern thing, and so is this. These just match. The way that the sigma and the taf are just switched out to make the secondary, the second person and the third person, the me and the sigma switch out to make the first person and the second person here, just to make things easy. I don't know where this came from, but you can use either one of these. And then the last one is krivonde. Alpha iota is short, as we said, as all these. Alpha iota is short, accent goes in the antepenult. So all of these endings are short. So krivome, krivese, krivete, krivomaste, krivosaste, or kriveste, krivonde. So I'm hiding, you're hiding, he's hiding, she's hiding, whatever. We are hiding, you guys are hiding, they're hiding. So the formula for this, for the present passive tense is durative stem, same as it was in the active. In the present active. Now in the present passive, we're still using the durative stem plus your primary, not your primary active endings, but your primary passive endings. So if you go back, if you're taking notes, if you can go back and in all the active tenses, in all the tenses in the active voice, just so we're clear. You can go back and say primary passive endings or primary active endings or secondary active endings to distinguish from passive ones that we're going to make now. So this is how we do the present passive, and now we'll keep moving on in the same order that we did in the active ones. I just realized that I made quite a big mistake, and it's probably scaring a bunch of you. Here, we've got middle passive, we've got active right next to each other, but these are opposites. So I didn't mean to write active here. I just meant to write primary. So these are the middle passive primary endings. These are the active primary endings. These are the middle and passive primary endings. So these are opposites. So sorry about this if you were scared and confused. And in this video I focused a lot on the middle voice. Krivome can also mean that I am hidden, but I don't think in this case that they use krivome in the passive. I could be wrong. I don't know. I've only ever heard krivome in the middle voice. But this same verb form across verbs is both the middle voice and the passive voice. So theoretically speaking, this means I am hidden and it means I'm hiding myself.